You're listening to the UnderGunned Productions podcast, Indie and Proud, taking home recording to a whole new level. All things cool, gear, beer, production tips and tricks, and a whole lot of other cool shit. Interviews with your favorite members of the UnderGunned team, and some surprise special guests. So sit back and enjoy the podcast.
Hello and good day, y'all. Jeremiah here with another episode of the UnderGunned Productions podcast coming at you. And today I have a special guest on the line all the way from Brazil. An amazing guitar player and an up-and-coming freelancer who is taking the world by storm with his guitar chops. All right, so hi Erikson and welcome to the show. Let's start by talking a little bit about where you are from and maybe share a little bit of information on the music scene down there too if you'd like.
My town is called Poços de Caldas, and it's in the state of Minas Gerais in Brazil. We have many musicians here, but I don't think it can be called like a metropolis of music, you know. For example, I don't think that almost anybody here knows how to work as a freelancer on the internet. At least I never heard of anyone working instead of me.
Well, that's good for you because you kind of got to step up on everybody else then, right?
Yes, I think so.
Now, you seem to be very technologically savvy, which is good, so you can actually utilize that to your advantage.
Yes, I've always liked to use technology on everything that I do, but now technology is so friendly for everybody, and I like using that for my advantage. For example, I use it to use a mobile internet, and it gave me several issues because, for example, to send big files to my customers, it would really take me lots of time, and even it would have issues like the internet crashing in the middle of the process and I have to start it all over again. So now that I have a better internet, it made everything easier. So I can send videos, I can send audio, I can send really big project files with no issue. And technology is really an advantage for the humanity, especially when it comes to music and proximity.
So you want to talk a little bit about freelancing and some of your freelance experiences, maybe a little bit about your workflow when someone sends you a track looking for some guitar work, how you approach everything?
Yes, of course. So first of all, I have to say thank you because you really helped me when I was starting on Fiverr because it was funny. I went after you for you to sing one of my songs, and you never sang it because I didn't finish it yet. It has been almost 1 year from there to now, and I have played I think 3 or 4 of your songs, right?
Yes.
So it was funny because I went after you to sing on one of my songs, and I started working with you and becoming friends with you, and it was really good because when I started on Fiverr, I think it was October of the last year, I didn't know that I could sell guitar solos there. I didn't know that I could sell guitar parts there. I opened Fiverr because I wanted a logo for my YouTube channel, and I was surfing there and I saw this guy playing guitars and selling solos. And when I opened his profile, I saw that he has sold 450 guitar solos, and I thought to myself, well, if he can do, I can do it as well. So I started a profile there. I have set up a profile and started trying to sell. But the beginning was a little bit rough to work because people don't know you, you don't have a reputation, no one have bought of you, so how can I trust this guy? And I started to contact users and ask if they wanted me to play their solos or to play their rhythm guitars, etc., I could reach, let's say, 10 or 12 people doing this. But when I started to have some reputation there, things started to get the opposite way. So I stopped searching for the customers, and they started searching me. So you asked about my workflow. Basically, what I used to do is when the person contacts me before ordering, I ask them to take the track and to play over it and send them a sample. If they like it, they can order. If they don't like it, they can suggest me what they want me to do, or they can simply don't order from me and go after some other person. But basically, I like to set up Reaper with the track that they send me, and set up it with my amp simulation as well, so I can play it. Sometimes the customer likes the first take, and sometimes I have to work a little bit hard on that. It depends on the customer, it depends on the track, it even depends on the inspiration that I have on that time. Because sometimes I play something that I really don't like to my ears, but the person that is receiving the song kind of likes that. And music is a little bit, has this little bit tricky parts, because you never know if the person will like or not what you do.
Yeah, no, every aspect is very subjective because it's a matter of taste, right? Like I find that with my mixing gigs, I try to serve what their vision for the song is, but at the same time, I'm doing what I think sounds good. So that's why I do what you do too. I'll always send something first and say, okay, are you liking this before I put too much time into it? Are you liking this direction, etc., etc.? And then you get the feedback. And then most of the time you are in the right ballpark, but then sometimes someone's going to want you to try this in this direction or this in this direction. And with mixing, it's a little bit different. That's been my main gig lately. But when it was with vocals, then it can become really subjective, because you might be a great singer, but your voice isn't a good match for that song, right? And some people are like, no, I really like your voice. But it's almost like, say, we had James Hetfield sing on this guy's song. He's a great singer, but his style isn't a match, right? And that's the same thing with lead guitar and guitar. You kind of want to find a good match. And now that I've worked with you on a few tracks, I kind of know your style. And I'm like, so if I get a song, it's like, no, I know he's going to have the perfect style for the same with drummers, because I hire a lot of drummers for my stuff. And I've worked now with probably 10 different session drummers over the last 10 years. And you kind of learn, no, this guy's going to be perfect for that track, or this guy's going to be perfect for this track, right? And so, but when some of these customers come to you for the first time, it's a matter of feeling out that middle ground, right? And then I do find, though, if you can please that customer and you're honest with them and you guys work together, that's how you start building up a clientele, and you'll get customers come back, which is, I think, the most important part of the whole freelancing thing, is building up that clientele. But I know you kicked the shit out of my songs, and I see you've been doing pretty good. And I'm sure other people are just as impressed as I was with your work. So you keep doing what you're doing. I think your career is going to take off for you.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot to hear that. And I really like to know that you like my playing over your songs. But you have seen some part of the job, because the customers that review me there already worked with me, and some of the customers simply aren't happy with what I record, so they simply stop answering my messages, or they simply say, okay, I am gonna look for somebody else, and if I don't find someone, we can talk later. And even there was a guy that was looking for a solo using a wah pedal, and I don't have one, and I couldn't find some plugin to simulate that. So I told him, okay, you can talk to Eric Maldonado, and he will do the stuff for you, because he's a good player as well. And music and freelancing has to be like this. You have to you have to be honest with your customers, because you can't lie in music. Actually, you can't lie in anything, but if you say for someone, no, you can send your jazz music for me and I can make a solo over it, you can't lie for so many time, because the person who is sending you a jazz music probably knows how jazz works, and he or she will listen and will realize that you don't know how to play jazz and other style of music. So I like to being honest with my customers, because I don't have anything to lose if I say the truth.
Yeah, no, I think you're a diverse enough player too. Like we talked about this before, you can like expand and you could have like a blues session guitar gig come your way and you're going to do really good at it. Like my songs were hard rock. You did really good at them. And so that's good too. Like we're talking about before, experimenting and putting time into each genre, but it's the genre you love that you want to be able to sell, and you know you can sell with honesty, right? And do a good job, of course, when it's all said and done.
Yes, I think that when I've set up my new video, I tried to stress some of the genres that I am most used to play. So I have put some hard rock, I've put Smoke on the Water from the Purple, I've put one of the solos that I did for one of your songs, which is a little bit more, more shredding stuff. And I've put a jam that I made along a backing track that was a little bit bluesy. So I tried to point some of the best parts of my playing. And some people come after me and say, "Oh, Erikson, can you play a Malmsteen solo over my song?" And it's it's a little bit strange to say, but I can't. And when some customer says, "Oh, can you play some Malmsteen solo over my song?" And I say, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I am afraid I can't because of this, and that." And sometimes the persons become upset with you because they think that playing fast is always the same. So, for example, if I can play some Paul Gilbert patterns a little bit fast, they think that I can play Malmsteen's diminished arpeggios that fast too, and I can't, because I am not used to play arpeggios and use sweeping picking, But some people get it and some don't. It depends on the customer as well.
Yeah, and you get a lot of people just kind of fishing around too, right? And then some people like to experiment and try different things, right? Which is all right too. Like I get a lot of hip hop artists coming to me for mixes, and now, like I've mixed just in the last year, half my mixes, not half, but about 40% of my mixes have been hip hop mixes, and I've always listened to hip hop. And mixing's a little different, but I've been using all my rock mixing techniques in these hip hop tracks, and they've been turning out great, right? But say you're a hip hop artist, guy wants you to come and sing on his track or vice versa, then it might work, but it might not, right? So you're taking a gamble at that, and that's where the experimentation comes in. But if the customer is willing to work and take that gamble and experiment, then it's all right. But sometimes it's better off, like you said, just to say, no, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. Maybe you find someone else, right?
Yes, actually, I try to. I always try first, and then after, if I can't, I simply say to the customer. But sometimes you really can't. For example, the first time that I worked with a EDM artist, it was a little bit weird because I don't listen to EDM music. I never played EDM music, and I had no idea what EDM music was all about. So when he came to me, he told, "Oh, I have this EDM song here. Can you please make a solo over this part and around 2 minutes?" And I told him, "Okay, I can try to do that, but I never played EDM music before, and I don't know if you will like it or not. So you can send me your track, and I can try. If you like it, we can proceed with the order. If not, I'm sorry." And the guy was a cool guy, so he said, "No, okay, that's fine. You can try yourself there, and you can say what you think about the song, and if you can play. And I remember that I had a really, really hard time with the song because I couldn't play anything that was cool over the track. So I was a bit upset because I didn't have many customers on my profile. So I went to the guy and said, "Oh, okay, I tried to do many things here, but none of them sounds good. So as a last attempt to work with you, can you please hum something or whistle something that you want me to do?" And he told me, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna whistle this for you and send you the recording so you can go from there." And he did this. And when he whistled what he wanted, I realized that was easier than what I was thinking, and it was easier to work with this track. And after he started to send in more and more tracks, and it was easier and easier and easier. Now another customers send me EDM tracks, hip hop tracks, rap tracks as well. And it's easier to work with because I am getting used to work with those styles of music that I wasn't used to. And as well, it's increasing my overall musical experience, because when you work with styles that you are not used to, even that you don't know them, you are forced to somehow learn. It's not that you will learn from night to day, but you somehow learn the feeling. You understand what's going on there. You understand the musical formula, and it makes you a better musician.
Yes, definitely. More well-rounded, as we say, eh? Now, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, too, like, because when you do something like that, then you're going to go back to another genre, and you can take what you've learned in the other genre and bring a little bit of that in, right? And you have to make it as a freelancer, you do got to be open-minded and be willing to experiment and take on challenges, for sure.
Yeah, being an open-minded is the key for being a freelancer. If you are not open-minded, you probably can't be a freelancer.
Yeah, no, you got to just be able to learn to talk all the languages too, because you notice how different guys from different genres describe things differently too. I've noticed that over the last few years, and so now I'm kind of picking up on the lingo from the hip hop guys and from the metal guys and from the rock guys, right? And I always have my own like kind of hillbilly lingo. But you find that middle ground, and that's what kind of keeps things rolling. No, it's right on. Like I said, I think you keep pushing the way you've been pushing, and you'll find some more success there. Let's talk about that contest you won.
Okay, that was a surprise for me. I was surfing on the internet, and I have a Facebook, and I saw on the Facebook that they were, first of all, I saw that they were really trying to innovate on the guitar amplifier simulation. So they were trying to innovate, and they stated that they were bringing the most close Marshall amplifier simulations to the market. And I thought that it was really interesting, so I started to follow the page and to see what was going on. And when they launched the amp simulation, I think that I listened to that, and I was really thinking that was an amazing amp simulator. And when they opened the contest, they only stated that you needed to use their application, their amp simulation, to record something and send a video to YouTube, put the hashtag Mercurial Spark, and then send the same video to their inbox on the Facebook. So one day I recorded my video. I used one song of mine, the introduction of a song of mine, which is called Purple Sunday. and the contest was running, and after I think 3 or 4 days, they announced the winners, and it was funny and it was weird at the same time, because I was surfing on the Facebook. I was on the office that time, and I was surfing on the Facebook, and I was only seeing random stuff, and I saw Mercurial Spark winners, and I was a little bit, I didn't believe that my name was there. And when I read Erikson Souza, I, I was, come on, is it really me? I won the contest, and I couldn't believe that, because I I never won nothing in my life that way. And when I saw that I won that, I was really surprised about that, because I just made the video for fun. I didn't make the video for, no, I have to win, I am gonna win this, and it's my life goal. No, I just did the video as any other video that I used to do and put on my channel, and I won that, and it really made my day that day.
No, that's cool to hear that story. It's these contests over the years, I've entered mixing contests and radio ad contests and different contests. And I think they're a great way to hone your chops and get your stuff out there. And of course, like you said, you can't take it too seriously. You just got to do it for fun, right? And it's a good way to let other people check out your stuff. So you ended up winning the full version of this plugin?
Yes, I won the full version of the plugin. It's called Mercurial Spark, and it has 4 Marshall simulations. So it has a JCM 800 simulation, it has a Marshall AFD simulation, it has a Marshall Plexus simulation, and the other one I can't remember right now, but it's another Marshall, but more towards bass,
All right, that's cool to have a little extra in your arsenal. So do you use this plugin with some of your work you do?
It's kind of weird to say that, but no, I don't use, because I don't feel comfortable playing this, because I like the sound, but I don't like so much as I like a Skillful gear. So I tried to use that. I tried even to record my video playing Smoke on the Water using it, but it's not the same feel, the sound is good, but it's somehow a little bit hard. The sound of this amp simulation is not that smooth,
Yeah, it kind of goes back to our conversation earlier when we were talking about that there. So what kind of DAW are you using right now?
I use a Caucus Reaper. I am using the version 5.40, and it's really good. It's a really good DAW, first of all, because their free version never expires. So if you wait for 5 seconds on the initial screen, then you can use everything inside of it normally. And it's not let's say it's not fancy as Pro Tools or GarageBand or etc., but it has all the functions that all the big DAWs has. So I do 100% of my job here. I record 100% of my guitar parts here, and it's really a really good DAW, because I think it's 20 or 30 megabytes of space on the disk, so it's almost nothing, and it doesn't use a lot of CPU, so I can track many guitars at once. I can listen to vocals, I can listen to other instruments inside the DAW, and it doesn't crackle,
Right on. No, I've heard a lot of good things about that DAW, and I have a few friends who actually use it too. I've never actually worked on it myself, but the reviews it gets are raving, and like you said yourself there, you're loving it, and you can do everything you possibly need to do with it, so you can't go wrong there. You're also talking that you got yourself a new interface. I'd love to hear about that.
Yes, I've got this new interface 6 days ago. Actually, this history is also funny because I am the kind of anxious guy, you know. So when I when I won my first payment on Fiverr, I made sure to buy this. So I bought it in the beginning of November, you know, but only now it arrived because it came with my aunt that came from the USA. So basically, I thought that it was a big interface, but it's like a little bit bigger than my hands, you know. So it's little, and yet it's so good. It has nice preamps. It has a nice DI, so I can track guitars really good, and it has a low noise floor, which is really good for me. And it has a really nice latency. Now I am talking to you using Skype, using Reaper. Google Chrome is opened as well. Notepad is opened. BitTorrent is opened. And yet I can have 7.8 milliseconds of latency. So it's a really low latency for that much things that I have opened here in my computer.
What's the name of this interface?
It's Audient ID 14.
Oh, okay, yes, I remember you told me that now. Yeah, I've been hearing lots of great things about the converters in the Audient stuff. Is supposed to be really high end, and so there's no audio degradation. So say you were going to run something out of that and back into it, you're not going to lose any quality. And then, of course, when you're running your guitar into it through whatever effects you use or whatever, you're getting 100% of what you're putting in.
Yes, their converters are good, and their preamps are also good. They state on their website that they use the same preamps that they use on their big consoles. And for my experience, I recorded some vocals using it, and it's really nice. It's really clear, you know. I have a cheap condenser microphone, so if I were using a cheap interface, a bad interface, I think that the vocals would sound a little bit muddy, but it didn't happen using the Audient.
Good to hear. Helps step up your tone a bit there. That's I've been looking at other ones too. Like I got the Fast Track M Audio 8 in, 8 out, which I need for when I'm recording multiple instruments. But I've been thinking just for when I'm doing guitar and vocals to try something else, because each piece of gear has a slightly different color. And once you start getting into the higher end stuff, it's all pretty equal, right? But and again, the latency thing you talk about, it's very interesting too, right? Because we're always dealing with latency the more things we get going on in our mix and etc. whatnot. But no, right on. It's good to hear you're stepping things up.
Yes, when I was searching about this subject, everybody stated that the RME Babyface was the best one out there, but it's really expensive for my budget. It's like 3 times the price of the Audient. So as a poor guy, I had to buy this.
No, it's just about getting yourself set up, right? Like, we're talking about some of the gear in the 70s, and back then just a preamp would be like $2,000-$3,000, right? Now you're getting that preamp built in to a unit to convert with the converter for a couple $100, so we can't go wrong in today's world when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's amazing because this sounds really, really nice when I am listening to music here in my computer now, or seeing some show or some video, and think it sounds a little bit clearer than the last audio interface that I had. Some people state that they can't hear so much difference from some audio interface to another, but I really could hear the difference between the last interface that I had and this one. The AD converters really helped to step up the game.
Yeah, like I was saying, they retain that clarity, which is important. And then also when you're listening back for a reference point, that's huge. If you're mixing or, like you said, just listening and watching TV or music, you can enjoy it even further with the clarity there. So talking about enjoying music, I'm going to spin a track you helped me with here, Erikson, called Peace in Insanity. And this is a track where me and Erikson traded solos back and forth there. And I kind of got the 80s tone, and he's got this more modern, cutting-edge tone. So you should be able to hear the differences when we both switch off with the solos and leads. And then in the bridges, we joined in and did a united kind of harmony thing there, which turned out great. And we did a video that you can find on my YouTube channel of this also as well. Peace in Insanity.
Welcome back to the UnderGunned Productions Podcast.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Brazil and maybe the music history and scene down there. I'm always intrigued how things vary from country to country. And I'd love to hear a bit of the background of how music has evolved down there.
Back in the day when internet wasn't born yet, it was hard for everyone to, for example, listen to my music, listen to your music, and even to listen to, for example, the Beatles. I can remember that my grandma uses to say that Beatles songs came here really later. It wasn't that fast, So technology is really working our advantage.
I know when I was in high school, CDs were just kind of becoming popular, but everybody, all the indie bands and local bands, they all had cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And they would make their own cassette tapes and just re-record them with a cassette-to-cassette system, right? And then they'd print out their own covers using photocopy machines, and a lot of bands did that. And then, of course, CDs came around, but even back then, if you wanted to make 1,000 CDs, it was a couple $1,000s, right? So cassettes were... that was kind of my era when I was a kid. And then my parents, they used to listen to vinyl records lots. And I still have a bunch of vinyl. And vinyl's still awesome, but it's kind of become obsolete over the years, right? Just like cassettes now have become obsolete, and CDs are slowly becoming obsolete because everything is moving towards files, right? MP3s, WAV files, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think that this is a point that technology is not so kind with us, because I also have a bunch of vinyls, and we can't compare the sound of vinyls and, let's say, WAV files. They sound really different. The sound in the vinyl is warmer. The sound in the vinyl is richer. It has more detailed sound. It's different. So I think that I can't say that music is losing quality, but there is a statement that says that the music that is recorded isn't the music that we listen on the CDs, because there is, even that it's minimal, there is a loss of quality. So I think that listening to music on the vinyl, even on the cassette, it was better. I mean, in terms of quality. I know that the CD sound is crispier, but it's not that rich. For at least in my opinion, I think this way.
Yes, no, I totally understand what you're saying. It's definitely an opinionated thing, and everyone has an argument from both sides, analog to digital and whatnot. I have a theory, and it's just from listening to some of the producers in the old days. The gear, the analog gear they recorded with going into back in the day was very superior. Like some of those preamps on those big boards, like the old Neves and the SSLs and whatnot, they thought those boards cost $100,000 for a reason, because each channel had a very high-end preamp. So you're running your guitar signal into that through $1,000 mic, through $1,000 or $2,000, $3,000 preamp into the board with another preamp. And that's something we've lost in home recording, right? Like the plugins are trying to emulate that, but until you're actually running through that expensive old analog equipment, it's that's where we've kind of lost the quality, in my opinion, is because we're not using all that equipment they had in those nice studios back in the day.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I don't think that, at least for now, there's no technology that can emulate 100% a analog equipment. For example, there is that Camper Profiler amp, and that thing is amazing. It has hundreds of presets of amplifiers inside of it, but I don't think that it's 100% the same as a tube amplifier. It may be 90%, but never 100%. I never played it in one of those, but I can listen the differences between the JCM 800 and the emulation of the JCM 800. It may be not as audible as it it used to be back in the day when they first started to make emulations, but it's still audible. For someone who only listens to music to appreciate, it's okay. But for us that are musicians, I think that is a teeny difference there, but it still exists.
Yeah, there's always that almost a little bit of a harshness that I find in all my amp sims. I've never used the Kemper, and I've been hearing a lot of the bigger guys say it's great and they're loving it, but that's one I haven't tried myself. I'm a huge Amplitude fan from IK Multimedia, and I also love the Tune Track Easy Mix guitar tones from the 2 Easy God guitar packs they released. I use those on not all my recordings, but almost all my recordings. And then over the last 2 years, I've gone back to using my Marshall and amping it up, and then I've been blending the two to kind of bridge that gap. But I totally hear what you're saying. I think a lot of it has to do with like the microphone being in front of the cab too. Like they're trying to emulate that, but that speaker's pushing quite a bit of wind back and forth, and there's air movement in front of that cab that you're not going to get from these amp sims. So it's definitely, again, one of those arguments that some people are on one side of the fence and some people are on the other side of the fence. But it's great to see how far they have come along, but at the same time, it's great to plug in a real amp and hear that real amp, no doubt.
Yeah, I can't say much things because I never mic'd an amp in my life. So I can't say if I can hear a difference for my tone. But I can listen the difference for the guys that record using that. I really like the Skufhan S-Gear amp simulator. One of the things that most attracts me is because they don't try to replicate any tone. For example, they don't have JCM 800 emulations, they don't have Plexus emulations. What they do is they have, let's say, a new amp simulator just based on some of the most famous, the Mesa Boogie, the Marshalls, the Voxes, but they aren't copies of that, and they really managed for somehow to get rid of that harshness that you are saying. I have already used Amplitude, I have already used Bass FX, Guitar Rig, and I think that at least 80% of the amp simulators out there I have tried, but none of them brought me the joy of playing guitar as the Skufhan brought me. As you stated, it's a particular opinion. Maybe some people don't like Skufhan, but as well, they started doing a different thing in the last years. They started using what they call load boxes. Basically, you put your guitar straight into your head, into your JCM 800, let's say, and you run your speaker out to this load box, and the load box goes straight into the interface. And what you do is you record your head, and then you emulate a cabinet inside your DAW, and you have a richer tone, and it's really close to the real thing.
Yeah, that's one way you're still getting your amp's oomph and then be able to run it into your interface without any issues. I've tried DIing. My Marshall JCM 800 has a DI out on the back, and I've tried that. And for clean tones, it actually works exceptionally well. But as soon as you turn on the gain, it's nothing like the gain you're getting coming out your speakers. It's just kind of really harsh. But something I could experiment with more, I think. But for the clean tones, I was actually surprised. I was like, that's something I can utilize more often, I think. But no, as long as you're happy, like you said, playing through the one you're talking about there, and it makes you feel good when you're playing through it, that's going to make your playing respond more to the sound you're hearing back, and it's going to make your playing that much better, I think.
Yes, I don't have any doubt about that. Gary Moore used a pedal, a stomp box called death metal, but he just played blues and hard rock, and if you listen to his tone, it's amazing, and you would never say that he used a death metal stomp box, because it's not It's not acceptable that someone who plays blues and hard rock uses that. But he was happy with that, and I think that the listeners were happy as well because his tone is amazing. So, again, it's a kind of particular opinion. As long as you are happy with what you hear, it's okay.
Yeah, because a lot of the tone does come from the player too, right?
Yes.
I've had this conversation with other people I've interviewed, and like you could have your guitar amp set up exactly the same guitar. One guy comes in and plays even the same song if you want to be the same song. Next guy comes in, plays that same song, and you've got a completely different tone. So there's something to be said about that, which is definitely true. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that play into it, but it is definitely cool that we can take like all these different plugins now and create something that's pretty good and right out of our own home without blaring out the neighbors. And
Yeah.
so there's definitely pros and cons to all the angles you look at.
Yes, of course. I remember that one day I watched a video from a Brazilian guitar player called Marcos de Ros. He stated that he was in a pub and there was Paul Gilbert playing in this very same pub, and the managers of the pub told him to make a jam with Paul Gilbert, and he told, "Oh, okay, I am a little bit afraid of making a sound together with Paul Gilbert, but I think I can handle that." And when he started to play the guitar, he was thinking to himself, "Oh my God, Paul Gilbert messed with my tone. It's really bad. This tone is sounding really bad, you know." And he stated that he was becoming angry to Paul Gilbert because he thought that Paul Gilbert intentionally did that to sound better than him. But there is a part of the jam that Paul Gilbert goes in the back of the person and starts to play the guitar that the person is holding, and he stated that Paul Gilbert has the exactly same tone that he has on his own guitar. So he started to think that the tone comes out from the hands of the player and not from the equipment. Of course, it helps. For example, if you have a $100 guitar and if you have a $10,000 guitar, it will make a difference. But I used to say that it's not a $10,000 of difference in the sound, you know. The player is the most important thing when you are playing.
Yes, most definitely. It's always kind of been like that, I think, too, for sure. Good gear helps. There's no denying that either. But at the same time, when you got like a guy like Jack White from the White Stripes, and he's playing on that Sears guitar, which is a $150 guitar, and that's his signature sound, right? And as soon as he plays that guitar, you're like, and you're grooving it. And those songs he's written and recorded on that guitar have sold millions, and everyone around the world loves that. And maybe only us musicians know that what kind of guitar he's playing it on. But it's just basically having the gear you got and utilizing it to create an original sound for yourself is hugely important. It's even myself, I do a lot of bass work on a $180 Squire bass that I have that I got at a pawn shop, and I've had a friend come over with a fucking Fender Precision, and we A and B'd the two, and there's definitely some difference, right? But that low-end bass gives it a good run for its money. I also have a $200 Dean that I got used in a guitar store, and I've recorded solos on it, rhythms on it, and had other musicians record solos and rhythms on it. And when you're listening to it in the recording, it's given the Les Pauls and the Strats and the Tellys a run for its money. It's so it's like I said, it's how you use your gear is the most important thing, I think.
Of course, I think that the biggest thing there is the comfort. You know, a 100 guitar will never give you the comfort that a $10,000 guitar gives you. It plays different, but it's just not only that, because I've seen Malmsteen playing in cheap guitars and making the exact same sound that he does with his Fender. So it's like it's not the central piece of the gear. The central piece of the gear is the player, and it applies to everything, to drums, to to guitars, to basses, and even to vocals. I think that vocals are a quality microphone will of course help you. You won't have to scream while you are singing. It will give you a warmer tone sometimes. But if Freddie Mercury sang on a one, let's say $10 microphone, it would still be Freddie Mercury. I think that some players are addicted to have new gear because they think that the gear will give them a good tone, a good playability. But the fact is that it's not 100% true. I have 4 guitars for now, and they play different from each other. One of them has a little bit more of output. One of those has a little less of output. One of them has single pickups, etc. And some of them are easier to play, but if I use the very same amp simulator, you can't really tell the difference between one and another. You can say, this guitar is worth $200 and this guitar is worth $10,000. That's my point. And I also like to say that you have to play what you like. So, for example, I have guitars here that I could play, I don't know, black metal, because they have a really hard tone. They have a big output. For example, I have a Yamaha SE 350, and it can play from hard rock to really thrash metal to really heavy songs. But if I play heavy songs on that, it doesn't sound good because I simply don't like playing that. So you have to play what you like. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's what genre we love that we come across the best as, right? Because it's good to be diverse too and dabble in different genres. I've always been a fan of that myself. But when you go back to what you love the most, it shines through in your playing. There's no doubt about it.
When you feel comfortable with what you are doing, things start to happen more natural. For example, I'm struggling to talk to you now because my native language is Portuguese, and sometimes I am a little bit lost with what I am saying and etc. And it applies to music as well. When you are playing something that you really know, it's easy and it comes out not naturally. But if you are playing something that you don't really know, it's very hard to approach that. For example, if you tell me if you say, Erikson, please play me a jazz piece, I can, for example, ask for you to give me 1 week. I can learn a jazz standard and play that to you, but it won't sound like, for example, I don't know, Alan Holdsworth was playing for you. You have to be comfortable, and that's one error that most of the musicians that are beginning, and I include myself on that, is that we try to do everything at once. And so, for example, when I started playing guitar, I also wanted to play the keyboards and the drums. And it ended up that I couldn't learn the guitar, I couldn't learn the keyboards, and I couldn't learn the drums because you can't simply concentrate yourself on everything at once. There are some musicians that can play many instruments, but I can say to you 100% sure that they are specialized in one of those. For example, Neil Morse from the Neil Morse Band and Flying Colors. He can play guitars, he can play bass, he can play drums, he can sing, and he does everything really good. But from hearing him and from seeing him, I can say that he is specialized on the keyboards. So one error that I and other musicians do is that we try to to learn everything too fast. Not I am not saying only about all the instruments, but I am saying as well as to learn all the styles. So for example, if I start learning to play the blues, I have to stick on that until I am comfortable playing the blues. I can't simply stop in the middle of the learning process and then start to learn jazz, start to learn hard rock, start to learn heavy metal, because it won't work. Music is like everything in our lives. It has cycles, you know. So you have to learn the blues, you have to learn the jazz, but you have to go step by step. And I am saying that because I always wanted to give a step bigger than my leg could do. I don't know if out there there is this expression, but here in Brazil we used to say like that. What is giving a step bigger than the leg? It's trying to learn something that you are not prepared for. It's like building the house from the roof or trying to run before you walk, and etc.
Yes, that makes total sense, man. That's a good analogy for sure. Because I know even myself, I've always spread myself out too thin. And now I kind of consider myself a hack of all, but a master of none, right? Because I like playing bass, I like singing, I like playing guitar. I kind of fill in all the little gaps, mostly out of necessity, right? Because I like to just songwrite. It's kind of where it all goes back to the core for me, is writing songs is my biggest passion. And to sometimes get these songs to a finished state, I got to do everything myself, or most of it myself when needed, right? Just to get things done. But I know when I was younger, I'm like, oh, I'll just keep practicing. In 2 years, I'll be great. So here I am 40 years later, or 30 years later, say. And now I realize that music is something you never completely master, because there'll always be something more you can learn, something more you can learn. And every day I try to learn something, and that will never end, right? And that goes for genres, that goes for instruments, et cetera, et cetera. And what I have found, though, over the years now, learning a little bit of jazz, learning a little bit of blues, bit of metal, et cetera, that all those genres come back into your playing no matter what style you're playing in. So it is good. Like I always encourage everybody to go outside of your box and even learn a genre you might not love, just to learn it and get a bit of that brought back to whatever style you're playing. So if you're a hard rock player and you go learn a little bit of jazz, that jazz will sneak into your playing, which is kind of nice. But that's something that happens over time, right?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I like playing hard rock, for example, but I don't consider myself a hard rock player, because I've been playing the guitar for more than 10 years now, and I always learned from the blues. So for example, I am really listening to Van Halen songs again now, and I think that 90% on his playing comes from the blues. I may be wrong, but most of the genres of music come from the blues, and that's why I always stress that you have to learn first the blues, then you learn all the other genres. Even if I listen to Metallica songs, I can listen to many bluesy things there, if you will.
No, you're 100% correct there too. Like myself, I was lucky enough to, when I started learning, I learned the blues, and I used to jam along with Eric Clapton and the Stones, which, believe it or not, are quite bluesy themselves, because Keith Richard, he loved all the 50s blues artists and even going back to 40s and 30s blues artists, right? And Eric Clapton is another example of that. So those guys were listening to that, and then they kind of took it into like Cream and even Tony Iommi and Black Sabbath, right, which is one of the earliest heavy metal bands. He's a huge blues fan. When you listen to his solos, they're just bluesy, oozing blues, right? But then that evolved into a little bit faster blues, and then a little bit faster, and then power chords started driving some of the songs with that blues laid on top. And no, it's definitely where it all originated from. And a little bit of jazz too, but not quite as much as the blues kind of came in, because some of those early jazz players in the 1940s were just smoking, like shredding.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting with the blues, like you said you did, myself I did too, man, is definitely a good way to get into music.
Yes, and if our listeners now start to pay attention on all the songs that they listen, they will listen at least a little bit of blues on that. For example, Queen is my favorite band, but when I started listening to them, I started to listen only the album called Greatest Hits, and it has from Bohemian Rhapsody to Flash Gordon's theme, and there was not almost anything bluesy there. But now that I am a little bit older and that I listen to that too much, I can listen, for example, the music Play the Game from the album The Game. The Brian May's guitar solo is pretty much a blues lick, you know. And if you back on their discography and you listen to the album called News of the World, it is bluesy from the beginning to the end. It has some variations, of course, because it wasn't much from the Queen style to stick on the same style the entire album. But basically, it has a really big blues flavor, which is really good, I think. And if you listen to Joe Satriani, for example, his songs has blues all over the songs, you know. And I really love the blues, you know, as from time to time I listen to Steve Ray Vaughan as well, because he is an amazing player and an amazing singer, an amazing composer. And if you listen to Steve Ray Vaughan and pay attention, you will see that he only didn't use the blues scales. He could really kind of put some jazz flavor inside of his songs, and that was really fun, really nice, really cool to listen. Because I remember that when I first listened to him, it was playing that game called Guitar Hero. And I was listening to that, and I couldn't understand how someone could play so many notes so clearly and still using some outside passages, you know. I think that he from that day, from now, Steve Ray Vaughan is still one of the players that most made me amazed of hearing, because he is amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I'm a huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan. Huge. Like as a kid, listened to it. My dad turned me on to him, and he put a little bit of rock into it, so it wasn't straight up blues, and a little bit of swing into it, and like you said, a little bit of jazz into it, which was nice, right? And he would use a lot of chromatics when he's walking up. He'd just hit every note, do 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 do, and the same with his bass player would kind of back him up on those runs to get to the next part in the song or whatever the case may be. And very melodic when he slowed down. Every note when he was playing his solos had like intention and passion behind him, right? So it wasn't like, and when he was playing fast, like you said, all those notes, but it was still clear, clean, and the emotion was kept intact. So yeah, that's kind of cool that you learned about him from playing guitar. What was it, Rock Band you said?
No, it's Guitar Hero. It came before Rock Band.
Right, that's kind of cool. I never realized that one of his songs were in there, but that's great that, again, modern technology and influencing young kids with a little bit of rock and roll history, right? And I always thought that those games, because I'm not a big gamer and fan of games that much, but when I seen Rock Band, and even we got Rock Band for my son and got him the drums and the guitar and all that, right? And I'm thinking, I played it a little bit. I'm like, damn, this game is actually going to do good for the youth because they're building up their timing. They're being exposed to music. So to hear your story there, that just kind of says, yes, that's pretty impressive that that's where you learned that and it inspired you, right? So that was definitely a positive point of the games. Not to sidetrack away from Stevie Ray Vaughan, but that was an interesting part of the story you had there.
Yes, and a cool thing is that I only started to listen other kinds of music and other artists after I played Guitar Hero, because I was addicted to Queen. I listened to Queen at least I don't know 8 hours a day. I have so I started to listen to another musicians as well, and I discovered that not only Queen was good. Queen is still my favorite band. I still love them. I still listen to them at a regular basis. But I started to listen other musicians, and there are some artists that I listened in Guitar Hero that I still love. For example, I have never listened to Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, and I came to know both of them playing Guitar Hero too, and that's really cool. And I will never forget the first experience that I had with Guitar Hero. It was really cool.
Yeah, good way to, like I said, be exposed to some of those old bands that you might not have came across until later. Like now, it's a lot easier to find music, but back in the day, it was just either your parents listened to things that you listened to, or your friends might have listened to things that they showed you. But and there was, of course, MTV and Much Music, but we know how shitty they are these days. So that's definitely a road we don't want to go down.
Yeah, but even in my day when I was 12, that was when I played Guitar Hero, technology wasn't so accessible. So I'm gonna tell a little history here. When I got to know all these bands on Guitar Hero, I wanted to listen more of them, but I couldn't because I didn't have internet access. I didn't have anything that could bring me that musics. And one day I was talking to my history teacher, and I was saying, "Oh, I really love Queen, but I've got to know this band called." On this day, I was talking with him about Motorhead, and I told him, no, I really would like to listen more from Motorhead, but I don't have any songs of them. I really listened just one song on Guitar Hero. And he told me, oh, I can download his musics for you. Just give me one CD and I will download the musics, and I will make a copy for you. And it was funny because I think that I waited at least 1 week to get this CD with him, and it was amazing. I used it to live really close to my school, and I went from the school to my house running really fast because I wanted to listen to that. And man, that was amazing. That was that was a different feeling. It was the first time that I powered on my CD player not to listen to Queen, and was a really cool experience.
No, it's a great story. That's awesome, Erikson. I find too, like back in the day, we almost appreciated music more because it wasn't so everywhere and always being bombarded by it, right? Like I know when I was a kid, what I wanted for Christmas, and this is probably when I was 8 or 9, so this is like mid 80s, probably right around the same time the album came out, was Twisted Sister. Because someone at school, we heard the one song, and I think they had it on their Walkman or something, right? So that's what I said to my parents, and I remember my parents seeing the album cover, and they all had makeup on their face, and they're like, oh, Twisted Sister, what the hell is this shit, right? And my parents love music, but that Christmas, they got me the Twisted Sister album, and I remember just cherishing that album like it was gold, right? That's something I don't think kids get that experience anymore now when they get music, because they just take it for granted almost, eh?
Yes, but I am afraid to say that even us that are a little bit older than they are don't have more this experience. For example, if you want to listen to, I don't know, the new Flying Colors album, let's say, you simply download it from the internet and you listen, and you are fine with that. You don't have to go to a store, and you don't have to buy that there and listen in your house, or even you don't have to wait 2-3 weeks to have these in your hands. Because I remember that the only places that I could get music back in the day was in the bookstores, because they used to have some CDs and even vinyls there. And sometimes when they didn't have the CDs and etc., you had to wait until they asked it for the producers to ship that for them. It was hard to get music. And this week I was listening to the newest Dream Theater's album. It's called The Astonishing, and there's a song called The Gift of Music. And there's a part when James Labrie says that people don't use to have time to music anymore. And unfortunately, this is so true because even us that are musicians, we don't have that precious time with music anymore. It's so true that I didn't finish to listen to their album yet, and it makes me really upset because our children are growing up without appreciate music in the way that we appreciate it. And this is so sad because music, like Nietzsche used it to say, without music life would be a mistake. And I think that these children's lives are being a big mistake because they don't appreciate music, and even us don't appreciate music anymore. For example, I when I listen to music, I am in the bus, I am in the street, or sometimes I am running. But come on, you can really pay attention to this song, to the whole meaning of what they are singing and they are playing when you are surrounded by people. Even when you are wearing headphones, it's not the same. And I really remember like it was today that when I was younger, I was locked inside my room and I was listening only to music. I didn't do anything. I didn't have a smartphone. I didn't have I didn't even have a guitar. So I was only listening to music, and that was joyful, you know. And we don't have this anymore, and this is so sad.
Yeah, actually, I think we don't realize like how important music is, again, because even us older folks are taking it for granted, and it's almost become background noise because music's always playing here and there, but you're not really connecting with it, or like you said, connecting with what the artist is trying to say. You have to almost just take a little bit of time out and go sit in a room by yourself and sit back and close your eyes and listen. And like you were saying, you did that when you were a kid. That's something I did when I was a kid all the time too. Like when I got my first Walkman, I was in heaven. It was like, oh yeah. And then my parents had lots of cassettes and lots of albums, and I actually had an album player when I was fairly young too, so I always had, for the most part since a young kid, somewhat of a stereo in my room. But it was specific music. We did have the radio, but we only had 2 radio stations where I lived. What kind of radio do you guys have down in Brazil?
For now, we just have we don't used to have good radio stations, in my opinion, of course, because they only play the regional style that uses to be like what we call sertanejo. They used to play, you know, this style of music that they are good in a way, but they are nothing compared to the rock music that we listen. And sometimes of the day they used to play some flashbacks, you know. So sometimes once in a while you can listen to Scorpions, you can listen to Kiss, you can listen to Van Halen, but it's not often, you know. But the difference again, when I was younger, at when I was going to sleep, I turned my FM radio on and I listened to music until I fall asleep. And I don't do this anymore. I don't listen to FM radios, and the programs that they used to make at the night still are a bit good. You know, they play like Prince songs, they play like Roxette songs, and they are still cool. But you know, for example, after midnight, it's not accessible for most of the people. I myself, I have night habits, so I like being awake until, for example, 4, 5 a.m. I don't know. And good programs happen during midnight, but during the day it's all bullshit, you know. I am not saying that you can't appreciate the local music, this sertanejo and other styles, but it's not the same thing, you know. It's not the quality of the music. It's not the lyrics don't have any meaning. The lyrics don't have are not deep, you know. For example, if you listen to our style of music, you pretty much can have a lesson of life from almost all the songs, and it doesn't happen with the songs that we use to listen here in Brazil. I don't think that is only here in Brazil. For example, if you listen to Justin Bieber and Katy Perry and etc., you won't have some good thing from that as well. But what I am saying is that here in Brazil, uh, we are really we have really talented musicians and good musicians and composers and etc., but they are not listened because this popular music is on the parades, you know, and it it makes me a little bit upset with our music scenery right now.
No, they should push more promotion to the indie artists and the underground bands. It's unfortunate that all the mainstream artists just get bombarded. But I think more and more people now are seeing that and realizing that. And that's why now even FM radio is going to come obsolete eventually, if you ask me. Like either that or these radio stations will have to conform, because like where I live now, we have 3 radio stations and every day they play the same 100 songs.
Yeah.
So if I'm at work or whatever, or I'm out and about in the truck on the radio on the truck, it's the same 100 songs day in, day out, and then they'll sneak a new one in here and there. And they just, I don't know how people just listen to the same thing over and over and over. So it's, I can see a lot of those bigger radio stations, and I'm sure this has happened in the last 10 years, closing their doors and shutting down just because they're not getting the listeners that they used to get in the old days, right? Because now with internet radio and underground radio, at least that's bringing a bit of light to the indie scene. And in Canada, we have what's called CBC Radio, Canadian Broadcasting Company or Corporation. And CBC, again, like you were saying, how sometimes late at night good programs come on. So at CBC at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll play all these underground Canadian bands for like 3 or 4 hours. And like you said, sometimes the quality isn't as good as some of the mainstream stuff, but at least they are helping and trying to help with the Canadian artist scene. And sometimes I hear some things that I'm blown away, and it's like, oh, who's that? You take a mental note and then you go home and you look them up on the internet so you can find out more about some of the up and coming bands. But for the most part, yeah, radio's again becoming a thing of the past. It's which is unfortunate.
Yes. When I was 12 years old, 13 years old, I don't know, we still used it to have a little bit of good music around, you know, it was 10 years ago. So we still had some good bands out there, and even rock bands that was on the mainstream. And the problem isn't the mainstream, you know. The problem is the style that is on the mainstream, because if you listen to the pop music that they state that is pop today, I don't consider, for example, Justin Bieber like a pop singer. For me, pop singer was Michael Jackson, George Michael, you know. Even Elton John was a pop singer, but Justin Bieber is just a I don't have words to to express what I think, but like Ozzy Osbourne says, "Who the fuck is Justin Bieber?"
Yeah, how these guys are selling like trillions of albums still blows my mind too. I know, like, to each their own, and everybody has their own tastes, and I get that, right? But at the same time, it's, you know what I mean. And there is some talent there, but it's not like exuding talent like some of our heroes. Like, you're a huge fan of Queen, like everybody in the band Queen, their talent was, they should have got more credit for their talent than they actually did, right?
Yeah.
And but it's just the way things kind of go, right? And it is the media, the people who control the media, they're kind of to blame. But again, like, at least people now, they can, with today's internet, you can go look for whatever you want, listen to whatever you want. You don't have to listen to the stuff that they're force feeding the world to listen to, which is kind of great.
For me, as a personal opinion, having internet is a good thing, but is a bad thing as well, because people tend to go after what the media says. So, for example, if they say that Justin Bieber is a good musician, people tend to go after Justin Bieber stuff and to listen to Justin Bieber. They aren't curious to, for example, search good rock bands, good progressive rock bands, good heavy metal bands. I think that one of the problems of our generation is that people today aren't curious anymore. At least they aren't curious as they used to be 20 years ago, which is really, really bad, because if, like you said, the media has some sort of culpability on that, but we also have some sort of culpability, because if they say that something is good, we tend to believe them, and it's sad. The only thing that I can say is that's sad.
Yeah, no, I've something I've questioned myself. Like, I still question, and it's unfortunate. Like, people are thinking less for themselves. Like, even musicians, it seems like, aren't willing to go out of the box or learn or write their own material in some cases, right? Like, you'll go on YouTube and there's just hundreds and hundreds of people playing cover songs, and cover songs are fun, and you got to play them too once in a while. But I think it's like whatever the cool kid at school's listening to, half the school will follow that trend, right? And it's all that really are is just trends, and they usually die out pretty quick. But the good music I see will last beyond those trends. And the fans of the better music, like all the progressive rock fans, those guys stick with like the bands they like, and they, you know what I mean, are waiting for that next album to come out. And but yeah, it is unfortunate that people aren't looking outside the box and not thinking for themselves as much as we used to as human beings overall, right? It's
Yeah. The major problem of our generation, as I told you, is we lack curiosity. We don't have curiosity anymore. But as well, we have much information. So we don't know what to search. We don't know where to search. Actually, we know where to search, but we don't know how to search. So, for example, if someone, let's say, someone who never listened to music, never, someone is inside a cave for 20 years, and someone goes outside this cave and he wants to learn to play guitar. I can guarantee to you that you have content from the beginning to the intermediate to the advanced, and this person can start to learn from the beginning to the end. And the problem is that if you go to YouTube right now and you, for example, type basic guitar lesson, it will bring back to you like 2,100 millions fucking billions of videos for you. And you start to think to yourself, well, what should I watch? What is worth for me? You know, I am a guitar player for 10 years, as I told you, and I almost don't use YouTube for learn something, because it's easier to forget how to do something when you are on YouTube than that you learn something, because there's so much information out there that it makes us kind of lost, you know. At least for me, it's my personal opinion about that. But I can't simple go to YouTube and type something there and learn something from there. Of course, it's a amazing tool, and if you know how to use that, you can really proceed using that, and you can make progress with that. But it's a tricky tool to use as well.
I think it's because there's so many distractions, and like you said, there's like a million videos, so you're like, well, which one, where do I start? Because it's almost information overload, right? You have abundance of everything, and you don't know if this guy is going to be better than that guy. It's almost the same thing when you're looking for new music. it's so easy to get sidetracked. Oh, let's check out this band. Oh, let's check out that band. And you never get to actually center your attention on one thing and focus on it, eh? So that's why, like, some of these kids up and coming, and I'm going to say you yourself, you're still fairly young. You seem to have a good grasp, and I'd say you're wise beyond your years just listening to you talk right now. Understand all this, and that's great, because there's a lot of these people growing up right now in this world the way it is now, and they don't even understand that. You try to tell them how things were in the 80s, and they don't care. They don't have that interest, like you said, kind of loss of interest. And partially it is because there's so many distractions that nobody's as focused anymore. And you need to pursue anything if you want to learn, no matter what it is. You got to have that focus, right? And music, definitely. And I know back when I was learning, like in high school, it was basically listening to the music and just trying to figure it out by ear, which is always good. And then, of course, learning from teachers and guitar teachers and whatnot. And then the guitar magazines that came out. I don't know if you're familiar with Guitar World, but that was...
Yes.
I used to just wait for the next magazine to come out the next month, right? And that's what I loved. And then back then, you're reading that magazine, you're reading the stories about your favorite artist, and then of course they had the lessons in the back, and then they always had tab to 4 or 5 songs, right? And that's how I learned when I was growing up to get my chops kind of started anyways, my guitar chops and my music history knowledge and my music and knowledge in general. That was something. So I find when you're reading, you absorb things a lot more if it's coming from a book. I know I am still, even today, I do a lot of reading over the internet, right? And I love YouTube for learning. Like, I've honed my mixing skills through YouTube probably more than any other educational source. So it can go both ways, but it is hard to stay focused because you're always looking at all the things that pop up on the side channels, and you're always getting pop-ups and ads, right?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And when I started to learn to play the guitar, I started learning the acoustic guitar. My grandpa used it to play the acoustic guitar, but he didn't have any notion on the theory, and he wasn't a great player as well. But he could do some rhythm, he could do some chords, and my grandma always talks about this history. One day my grandpa went out from the house to do something, I don't remember what, and I took his acoustic guitar and started playing by myself without anyone teaching me, without anyone telling me what to do. I was only watching my grandpa all the time, and when I had the opportunity to take the acoustic guitar without he seeing, I tried that out, and it worked somehow. And after that, he started to teach me what he could, and sometime after, I started to have guitar lessons, to have acoustic guitar lessons. And I didn't had much contact with guitar magazines because it was not accessible. I really think that in that day I didn't even knew that this kind of stuff was produced, But was interesting the way I learned how to play, the way I started playing. And you told that people don't have focus to learn something, but the problem is that we don't have focus to do anything anymore. As we are talking a little bit earlier, we don't have focus to listen to music. We don't have focus to watch the TV series, for example. I love TV series, but as I told you, there are so many TV series that I become lost which one I am gonna watch. And when I start watching one, for example, now I am watching Dr. House, and when I start watching this, I stop the episodes, I think 3, 4, 5 times, because I have to answer some message. I remembered something that I wanted to search on Google, etc. And maybe not everybody is this way, but I am this way, and I am a bit upset with myself.
No, it's almost a mental state you have to fight or grasp either way to stay focused on what you want to achieve, right? So you kind of got to set your goals. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm gonna do, and just stick true to that path. And like I said, it is challenging though for everybody in this world, both the younger generation and the older generations. And I kind of fear going into the future further in this direction because everybody's just going to be scatterbrained, it seems. But that's why it's kind of nice for us to have our music, because if I didn't have my music, I don't know what I would really do, right? Like I like going up into the forest and hiking and fishing, and I like working in my garden in the backyard. So I have other hobbies, but music is what even when I'm doing my other hobbies, usually I'm thinking about the next song I'm working on. Like music kind of consumes me where it keeps me guided in a path, which is one of the reasons I actually wanted to get this podcast up and running so I could talk to other people about this path and get different insights and whatnot. But yeah, we've kind of gone over my designated time limit here. So I'm going to thank you for taking the time out of your day. I think we went down a couple good avenues there and covered a lot of your history, which was great, and talked a little bit about gear, because that's what I'm here for, is talking about gear, freelancing, guitars, and yeah, so you got any final closing statements you'd like to share?
First of all, again, thank you so much, because if it wasn't you, I couldn't be here on your podcast, and I couldn't be a successful guy on Fiverr as well, because you bought many souls of mine. So I really have to thank you. And also I have to say that if you that is listening this are willing to somehow be a freelancer, you can't be upset with anything. You can't be upset with someone that maybe uses your solo without paying you. You can't be upset if someone says that you are a bad player, because as we stressed enough here, there are all kinds of musical opinions, and someone will like what you do, some others won't, and you have to persist. And I think that Fiverr is an awesome way to start doing freelancing, because you can meet people from all over the world, and as well you can learn a bit every day when you are there. And special thanks for you, Jeremiah, because this was an awesome talk. I think that sometimes I am a bit excited too much, so I talk too much off topic, but I really thank you, because it's an honor to participate on your podcast, and I hope to work with you soon.
No, definitely. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, and that's what podcasts are for, just talking and speaking your mind, right? No rules, no governing. And like you said, for anyone trying to get into the freelancing world, you just got to keep your head high and don't let anybody else bring you down, and just do what you do, and do what you do as best as you can. And that's all you can ever ask of yourself, and that's all anyone else could really ever ask of you too. So we're going to leave everybody off with a track of mine here that Erikson just shredded some killer solos on, and actually hired a session drummer from Fiverr on and a session singer from Fiverr on. And it's called Don't Fear the Darkness. And we're going to leave you guys with that. Thanks again, Erikson. So we're going to leave everyone off with another track here that Erikson just killed the guitar solo on. And this track is also a great example of what you can do by utilizing all these affordable session players who are working as freelancers on the internet in today's world. I've got a drummer I've worked with on several tracks called Jake, who just brought his A game to this track, and also an amazing singer from Venezuela named Debis Articas. I have a hard time pronouncing his name, accurate, but this guy just killed it. And thanks again, Erikson. Thanks again to all you folks for listening to this podcast. If anyone has any suggestions for future podcasts or would like to share your story on this podcast, please feel free to contact me at UnderGunnedProductions.com. And if anyone has any interest in possibly hiring session players for your track, or you need a mix engineer, you can feel free to contact me and I can help you. And if it is something I can't help you with, I can point you in the direction of someone who can help you. So please enjoy. Don't fear the darkness.
Prepare to fight the hate and the darkness. We
You're listening to the UnderGunned Productions Podcast.